Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's January 10th, 2026. I had to make sure I didn't say 25 because you get caught up with that. But I'm here, of course, with Elijah Weintraub, my co host. And Eli, how was your week?
It was a busy and a great week. Thanks to anybody who tuned in to WSOU this weekend when I was on the radio. We have a great weekend ahead of football. We have plenty of sports to talk about. There's so much to get into. So let's kick it all off with the monologue, sponsored by Coriana Trucking of Summerhill, New York.
Okay, it's on you. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. Well, I'm a big Devils fan, and I have to talk about what is going on with this New Jersey Devils. And the first thing I want to talk about first, before I get into the details and everything, how many head coaches have we gone through already? And to just prove my point for a second, John Hines was let go by the team in 2019. Nasruddin became the interim head coach for about a year, from 20 to 2020. Lindy Ruff took over the program for about 4 years. He was let go. Travis Green took over as the interim head coach. Now we have Sheldon Keefe, who's been there since 2024, and it's the same New Jersey Devils team. Pretty much, we're seeing a train wreck in the New Jersey Devils this week. Tuesday night, they lost the Islanders 9-0. 9 goals to nothing. This is almost football scores at this point, where we're getting to at this point. Um, our own player, Luke Hughes, scored 2 own goals on Sunday, which is crazy to think about. I mean, this is a nightmare. And yes, you can argue it's on the coaching. You can argue that's fine. But we've gone through 3 coaches, 2 interim head coaches. Maybe it's the GM if we think about it. I think it's time for Fitzgerald to go, the GM. I mean, there's been nothing but problems. We missed the opportunity to get Quinn Hughes, which is one of the better players of the Hughes trio. I'll make that clear. And I'm a Devils fan. I like Hughes, Luke, and Jack. But I think Quinn's a lot better, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you miss top guys, top buys who are now going to Florida, Boston, all these big teams. The Devils aren't doing nothing. And you know what? Yeah, you can argue it's the coach, but it really is that GM and Tom Fitzgerald, because nothing is happening with this team. They're not going places. They're not making the right moves. We have our own guys scoring goals. We're losing 9-0. Our goaltending's been horrible ever since Brodeur left. It hasn't been good.
Yeah.
This has just been a nightmare for the Devils. They have to win tomorrow versus the Jets, and if they don't win tomorrow, expect somebody to get fired on Monday, because this is out of control what's going on in the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you at all. And like I said, ever since Jacques Lemaire kind of left the organization, it's kind of gone downhill since then. And I don't know what to tell you. I mean, from a perspective, like 2 years ago, they looked like they were on the right path, and then all of a sudden, with the injuries to Hughes and so forth, you're right. Even though it's such a long season, and like you see, the Sabres were a horrible team to start the season. Now they've won 12 out of 13 games.
I
So
know.
don't throw in the towel on your Devils just yet. It's a long year, but your points are well taken. They were on the right
A
path,
historic
and all of a
run.
sudden, yeah. Now I don't know what happened. Yep.
Well, we do have a couple comments. First, we have Tom saying, "Good morning, gentlemen. Great football game last night," and we'll be talking about that in just a minute. And Brandon says, "Congrats to Indiana and Miami. Indiana's run is historic." And you know what? Let's just jump right into it and talk about this college football playoffs and everything that's going on. And we had 2 great games these past 2 nights, and our final for the national championship is set. It's going to be Indiana taking on Miami. However, we could talk about Indiana in just a second, but keep in mind, the national championship is in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. So Miami has home field advantage for this final, which is something I don't think happened in a long time here in the college football world. If I'm not mistaken, Jim, you probably would know more than me about that. But they're having
Yeah.
home field advantage for this game. It's pretty crazy to think about that.
Well, I mean, listen. I mean, I could see the smile on Tom Pugh's face. He's an Indiana grad, and yes, yeah, is that going to be a factor? That they're playing at Hard
Maybe.
Rock Stadium. I don't see that as much of an advantage.
Well, it's an
Especially
advantage to Miami in terms of sorry to interrupt, but in terms of the money, because now they don't have to travel, so they get to save all that money from the travel, the airplane, the hotel, all that. They're pretty much saving on that. That's pretty much pocket change, right, for them, if you think about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's
it's
NIL
all
money.
set. It is all set. I mean, and like I said, Tom Pugh and his Indiana contingent couldn't be happier. And from my perspective, we talked about this in the beginning of the year. I had a lot of people say, "Are you a believer in Indiana?" And it was early in the season, and I said, "Well, let me see how this progresses." But as you know, Eli, the past 4 or 5 weeks, I became a believer in the Cignetti system, who is just this is a remarkable program turnaround from a team that has never been relevant to playing at this level that they're at right now is unbelievable. And you and I both have talked about you can't say enough about what kind of a kid this Fernando Mendoza is and how talented he is. But you look at Indiana, they are loaded
They're
on
good.
the ball. I mean, it's not just Mendoza, and he's got weapons all around, and just what a dominating performance against an Oregon team with potentially, you know, um, a Heisman quarterback and so forth, and they just really took it to him. It's amazing, and what a performance! I can't say enough about it.
It really is amazing the turnaround this team had, and you mentioned it perfectly right there. This is a team 2 years ago that went 2-10. Kurt Cignetti showed up, and he goes, "I got this," and he really did got this. The turnaround was unbelievable. I'm just as shocked as you are, Jim. A couple weeks ago, I wouldn't tell you that Indiana was going to be the team that they are now. I wouldn't tell you that Indiana was going to go places. Now all of a sudden I'm believing them. I believe they have the potential to win this whole thing, and I think they will, honestly. And they're making a name for themselves in the Big Ten too, which is crazy to think about. It's crazy to think that they're in a Big Ten school conference, and this is the run that they're having. It's unbelievable in itself. You talk about Mendoza there, and he really is a classy player. He's perfect. He's a leader. He checks off all the boxes. And one thing that surprised me from his interviews this week, he says his only social media that he has is YouTube and LinkedIn. No Instagram, no Facebook, no X. That surprises me too, right there. For a college kid, he really knows how to take things seriously. And these are two great streaming of social media platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube. I could admit that, but still, to take that level is incredible. And the last note I want to bring up, you mentioned the team. And that's something that Kirk Herbstreit's been talking about on these broadcasts and at the post-game stuff. Indiana isn't just about Mendoza, isn't about one player. It's a team. It's a team effort. And we're seeing these team guys step up to the next level. Look at the Rose Bowl, for example, and the MVP. It wasn't Mendoza. That just goes to show you the talent that this team has, that it's not just one guy like Mendoza. It's an entire team. And that's what makes them so good. It's a well brought together team. Lastly,
it really is.
Before I turn the mic back to you, I can never figure out Kurt Cignetti's facial expression. He's like a stormtrooper. He has the same face every time. Touchdown, same angry face. We did a fumble, angry face. I never seen a smile from that guy ever. I mean, I just want to see. I hope he smiles if they win the national championship. That's all I want to see.
Well, it certainly sounds a little Nick Saban-ish, doesn't it? Like who's all business all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like a stormtrooper, though. I mean,
but let's talk about the game. And, Brendan has brought up to me on occasions, listen, they're not going to beat Miami 55-22 or 56-22. Miami, right. And I've been watching them, and, I was a little suspect of them, but they have seemed to have pulled this all together. And I've always kind of been a Carson Beck guy. I don't know what happened at Georgia, but I've actually been more impressed with him. And I think he's going to be an NFL quarterback. He's tall, he's athletic, he could run, he's got a great arm. Yep. And you know what? I mean, I'm happy. A lot of people kind of dismissed him, but Miami is loaded. They have a solid defense. This kid, Tony, the wide receiver, outstanding. Mark Fletcher Jr., the running back. I mean, you saw time and time again on some of those plays the other night. I mean, he was stopped and he was bulldogging and still got 8-9 more yards. this is a great matchup. And yes, maybe the home field gives a little bit of momentum to Miami, but this is what the college football playoff intended it to be, to have these two teams right now playing at the level that they're playing. I think it's outstanding. And when we talk about who we're going to pick, who we're not going to pick, I think Miami will give them a game. They do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, and Carson Beck is playing the best he's played in his 7-year college career, believe it or not. Um, but I think Indiana and Signetti and Mendoza, they're on a mission. And I just can't see them letting this one slip away. They'll be,
Yeah.
if that does happen, Eli, they are in good hands. They locked him up, Signetti, for the next 9 years or whatever it was. So they are going to be relevant going forward. But I think their destiny right now is to win this game. It won't be a blowout, but I'm looking forward to it. That's Monday the 19th, Peach Bowl, right?
No, not the Peach Bowl. That's usually the Orange Bowl, right? Yeah, it's usually the Orange Bowl, but it's a national championship site. But anyways, before I get to Brandon who's calling in, I want to just give my thoughts real quick. Yes, absolutely. Miami is a great team. You know, they put up a great performance versus Ole Miss, although it was very close. So 31-27, that's a close score. But for once, a national championship game won't be as big as a blowout as we've seen in the years past. We're going to actually have a close and good game for once, and I'm very excited to see that. If you talk about our picks, though, I mean, Indiana is definitely going to be the favorite to win. I'm picking Indiana, I think, to win. They just look that good. Yes, I understand Miami's home. They have the home field advantage potentially, but still.
And I want to give a little shout out to, I have a little bit of a connection with Ole Miss. My niece goes there, and I got to give them credit. They played their hearts out against Miami, and I was impressed with Trinidad Chambliss and so forth. They hung in there tough, and they could have easily have gotten away, and it came right down the wire. And it was a great Final Four, if you will, in college football. It was awesome.
All right, we have a couple comments, and first I'm going to get to Brandon, who's calling in now. Brandon, good morning. Can you hear us?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Congratulations to Indiana and our Indiana fans that are watching the show. Just wanted to bring up a couple of points I put in the chat, and I think this is worth just admiring. Indiana is the first team since the Ivy League in the 19th century to win 7 games, scoring 55 points or more, winning the game by 42 points. That is absolute dominance, what they have done. It hasn't been done since, I believe, 1870 something, with maybe Penn or Princeton or something like that. But anyway, to the game. The home field advantage part, I agree with Tom. I think this will be Indiana selling the place out. Miami has a history of playing national championship games at the Orange Bowl when it was the Orange Bowl, and those were the good old days. I just don't see I don't see the home field advantage for Miami. Although it is great, they get to bag all $23 million just for going to the championship game, which is going to go directly into their NIL fund,
which is amazing in itself.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Now I don't see. I see this game going. I'll give you my perspective, using Miami as a historical reference. The 2001 team played Nebraska in the national championship and absolutely blew the doors off of them. That's one thing that could happen with Indiana, is they could absolutely smoke Miami, and we won't even be having that much of a discussion the week after the game.
Yep.
The only way Miami wins this game is if they take a page out of the 2002 championship that they lost to Ohio State. You might remember the bad interference call at the end, but Ohio State's game plan was they held the ball for 40 minutes. They held the ball for 40 minutes. They ran, I think they ran the quarterback 25 times up the middle. Maurice Clarett was on that team, Jim. You probably remember remember those days. And they kept the game close. The only thing about this Miami team that I cannot see, and I've been a supporter of them this playoff, as you know.
Yep.
I do not see Miami playing a perfect game. I just don't think that they can do it. I think Mario Cristobal he's a good recruiter. Maybe I'll eat my words. He's great at getting the guys up front and on the front seven on defense. That's great for him, but I just don't see the play calling. For example, they're dominating the line of scrimmage against Ole Miss, pounding it, pounding it, pounding it. And what do? A flea flicker, and it falls dead, and there's just no reason to do that. So I think Indiana has the edge in coaching, all three
Yeah.
facets really, and I think Vegas has the game at 8 points, 8.5 points, maybe if that anybody cares about that.
I
But
don't.
I just wanted to get your take on the historical reference that I made between the '01 national championship and '02 national championship, and where this game might fall with Miami.
Yeah. And thank you, Brendan. Very, very well thought out, retrospective. And yeah, I
Indy
can't.
7.5 according to Fox Sports. Just want to point
Yeah.
that out.
But Brendan, as Brendan pointed out, if you watch the Ole Miss game, the key was that defensive line. And, we didn't hear Ruben Bain's name and Mesidor name mentioned almost maybe once or twice. And if Miami is going to make a run at this, then those two players have to step up and be noticed. And that's what I mean. Indiana has a great offensive line, and but you didn't assimilate a great offensive line with Ole Miss, and yet where was Bain? Where was Mesidor? So that's going to have to change if they want to keep this game competitive. I just Brendan, I agree with you, but I remember certainly the Maurice Claret, and we're going to have to deal with watching Michael Irvin run up and down the sidelines and so forth. But
It's all right though. It's entertainment.
I know it's over the
It's
top
entertainment.
though.
I want to get to a couple comments that I missed a lot. First, Diego says good morning. Good morning, Diego. Tom says Miami will be extremely full of fans wearing red. It'll be a home game for Indiana.
Yeah.
Brandon says Signetti has won 7 games by 6 touchdowns or more while scoring 55 points or more this year. This hasn't been achieved since the Ivy League was playing football in the 19th century. William says, good morning, fellas. Indiana all the way. Good morning, William. And Tom says, shock and awe. And by the way, for those watching, feel free to comment, or you can even call in by scanning the QR code or the link in the chat to call in live to give your thoughts and whatever else you want to say.
No, it's really been just an exciting playoff run, and we're seeing something that's just unprecedented. A non-football school now becoming relevant, and as long as Signetti stays there, they're going to be relevant going forward, and we're going to be talking to them about they're in the Big Ten with Ohio State and Penn State. Now we always going to have to throw in my Indiana, so. I can't wait for the game to happen. Like I said, I give Carson Beck a lot more credit than a lot of other people have, and of course he's going to have to play the perfect game. And I don't want to use any cliches about you got no turnovers. I mean, this is just common sense stuff, but I think he's got a little bit more than a lot of people give him credit for. But they're going up against a juggernaut right now, and I look for Indiana to take care of business.
I agree. Indiana's going to get the win. It's going to be definitely a tough and close game, I think, but Indiana's going to get the win, and I do expect it to be a very neutral crowd, I would say, but Miami is home, so, it'll save a lot, let me tell you, on the air travel and everything, so you'll get a lot more Miami fans to pay that money. I heard it's the most expensive playoff game of all time, final, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's going to be that way. That's how it is now.
Well,
excellent.
That's it for college football. Let's go to the NFL and wild card weekend. But before we get into all the wild card weekend talk and stuff, Week 18 was a showdown, and Week 18 led to a lot of firings. But before we get to that firing, it all came down to Sunday Night Football in Week 18, where the Ravens took on the Steelers. Tyler Luke game-winning kick, no good and missed. And the Ravens lose the game. They miss the playoffs. The Steelers punch their ticket, and they're in. They'll take on the Texans Monday night. But because of that missed kick, John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens, fired. One of the many fired this past weekend. We'll talk about all the firings in a minute. But the biggest shock, Jim, was John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens and that firing that took place.
I can't disagree with that. I don't understand it. And you and I talked a little bit about this before we came on the air. There has to be some sort of dissension between him and Lamar Jackson. And the ownership had to say, well, we're paying Lamar Jackson $50 million or whatever. He's still young, he's still relevant, and one has to go. And unfortunately, it was Harbaugh. And like I said, you brought it up, Eli. There were 6 firings, and then there, of course, there's 2 vacancies for the Giants and 1 for the Titans. So we had Raheem Morris goes, Stefanski fired, Harbaugh fired, Gannon fired, rightfully so, because Arizona's not relevant. And Pete Carroll, that
was obvious.
experiment. Yeah, I mean, he got fired because he put all his chips in Geno Smith. And I've always said Geno Smith was a mediocre quarterback.
I agree.
And then the late surprise was Mike McDaniel. So I don't.
Yeah. I want to get to Bobby, who's calling in now. Bobby, how are we today? How's Texas?
What's up, fellas? I'm calling you from the suburbs of Dallas. Texas. It was warm. It's not warm now.
Hello, Robert. Nice to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. Jim, I just want to tell you real quickly. That's why I popped on. I'll be thinking about your brother today. I'm heading to AT&T Stadium for a tour. And, of course, our game is live on ESPN Plus tomorrow, Dream Bowl. So I'm doing camera work during the national anthem, halftime, and the postgame show. But your brother will be on my mind today, right, to that stadium for the first time.
That means the world to me, Bob.
That's awesome.
I tell you, I get choked up just thinking about it because this is the year, this talking about college football and the NFL, him and I we were buddies, and I miss those conversations. But when you bring stuff like that up, it just makes me very emotional, and I thank you very much for your support of Steve all along.
You got it.
You got it, my friend. Does Tomlin get fired if they lose?
What's that?
Does Tomlin get fired?
I don't know. No. I think the loser of the last week's game would have gotten fired, and obviously Harbaugh did. Real quick, Jim. Who's your pick for the Giants? Who do you like? Who do you want?
Listen, if I had my druthers, I would take John Harbaugh. I really would. I think the Giants have a better foundation right now. I mean, but Eli and I were talking about it, Rob. There's a Stephen Ross connection with the Harbaughs down in Miami. And we didn't see that McDaniel was going to get fired, but I think it's a real possibility now. But Harbaugh is going to have to say, well, what's my quarterback situation down in Miami? And there is no quarterback situation. They have a little bit more promise for New York, and that's who I would choose as my coach. But Rob, I got to tell you, I'm still surprised that Joe Schoen didn't get fired. I don't know who's pulling the strings there.
Who's pulling the strings, Jim? It's Don Bosco. That you fire Joe Schoen and the quarterback leaves. His son's got to go there. He's going to move.
Fair point there.
So Don Bosco's pulling the strings.
That's a pretty interesting perspective.
You got a good point there.
Yep.
See you guys later.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, Rob. Enjoy the game.
Yeah, but we were talking about this earlier, Jim, and about the whole. Yeah, absolutely, one of the best in the business. Well, we want to go to Harbaugh and where I think he's going to go. I said to you, my predictions were definitely Dolphins because, again, you have a new GM. They just hired John Eric Sullivan last night. They have pretty much a whole new team you can work with, a new GM to work with. That's a team that Harbaugh can make a name for himself. Another place he could also make a name for himself, the Las Vegas Raiders. Because if you think about it, they got rid of Pete Carroll. They're going to get Mendoza as the number 1 pick. You could really build up Mendoza. He's a guy that, he has experience where he can build up a quarterback like that. You look at the Giants' perspective, yeah, it would be great to have Harbaugh on the Giants and stuff, but you have Joe Schoen, who is a horrible GM. Do you want that? Do you want a horrible GM when you can't build your team? And Harbaugh's a guy who wants to make sure his team is perfect and has every piece together. The Giants don't have all those pieces together. Even though they have a couple of draft picks, they can do that. They're not going to make the perfect team, even though they got some of these big weapons. So really, the best teams to go to is Miami or the Raiders, because he could really make a name for himself, do what he wants, and have a bigger say than he would, let's just say, versus the New York Giants, for example.
Well, listen, there is no question that the Giants have to get this right this time. I mean, we've done the Shermer, we've done the Judge, we've done the McAdoo's and whatnot. So, I'm not in on taking a guy without experience. That's why I think Harbaugh would be a great fit, and maybe bring Kingsbury in as the offensive coordinator who's been known to work with quarterbacks. And Giants have a quarterback of the future, it appears. But they have to get this right. But you're right. I don't know whether or not this Miami thing kind of threw a monkey wrench into the whole coaching carousel. And Eli, just one other quick point. We're talking, there may be some more openings. If the Buffalo Bills don't win this weekend, there's a pretty strong possibility that Sean McDermott gets fired. So there's another job. And I'm hearing, and I don't know, I would need to listen to my Green Bay Packers fan, Abe. I didn't know that they were even considering, if the Packers lose, maybe Matt LaFleur gets fired. So I don't know what's going on here. These are all possibilities. So
all I know is
if Harbaugh decides to go to Miami or someplace other than New York, I would take a LaFleur. I wouldn't have a problem with Matt LaFleur.
You're right. And, the coaching carousel of firing is not over yet. And I will guarantee you'll get at least 2 to 3 more guys this week, and after the wild card game's over, get fired. And we haven't even talked about that yet. That's the crazy part. A couple comments. Bill asked who were your Giants coaching pick, and you mentioned that with Bobby. You like Harbaugh. Frank said, good morning, and I have to disagree with Eli. Miami has no QB. Yes, but he can build them. He can build a new QB when he gets there.
Well, I think we're all on the fence about whether or not Tua is really worth the $45 million. I don't see it. I never saw it. I don't think he has the arm strength. So I don't know.
He also said, and have to give props to Dable, as much as I didn't like him for raving about the Giants' opportunity to other coaches. He says, would love Kingsbury or McDaniel as the Giants' offensive coordinator.
Yeah, me too. I would take Kingsbury as the OC, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much what's going on down in the coaching firing and all that other stuff. Another breaking news that happened this morning was Falcons named Matt Ryan as president of football. That came in moments before we went on the air today. Let's go ahead and talk about Super Wild Card. Well, not Super. It's no longer Super. Wild Card Weekend. Let's talk about these games. We have 6 games today. 6 games over the next 3 days. It's 2 of them today. We're going to go through our picks as well. We're going to talk about the picks. We'll talk about each game. But before we do that, I dread to do this every week, but I'm legally required to based off of my insurance. Yeah. I have to bring up the standings chart, unfortunately, due to my legal team, even though I don't want to. And there's the standings, 39-24, and I'm at 35-28. Jim, you went last week, I believe, 3-3, and I went 2-4. Okay, legally I'm done. I don't have to do that anymore until next week. So, all right.
Well, listen, I'm gonna give you a chance to make up a little ground, because we're gonna pick all 6 games, and I'm gonna let you go first and give me your selections, and then I'll give you mine.
Gee, thank you. That's very kind of you. It really is. Let's go ahead and start off with today's games. The Los Angeles Rams have the 5 seed as they are on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers, the 4 seed, which I think we're all shocked that they're even in it to begin with. They're Carolina Panthers, and they have an 8-7 record. Today's game is at 4:30 on Fox. Los Angeles is a 10.5 favorite. Come on, it's got to be Los Angeles. 28-20 is the final score. It's going to be the Rams. Green Bay favored by 1.5 as the 7th seed to take on the number 2 Bears in Chicago. 8 o'clock on Prime Video. I'm going to go with the Bears in this one, 26-24. The Bills, they're at the Jaguars, 1 o'clock on CBS. And this is actually a very good game. The Bills are the 6th seed. The Jaguars are the 3 seed. The Jaguars have been really good all season long. They've been showing a lot of potential and stuff. But I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills in this one, 32-28. I think the Bills are going to surprise us. They're going to get the win this week. I don't know if they're going to win the following week, but I think they're going to get the win tomorrow. 49ers, the 6th seed. They take on the number 3 Eagles. Philadelphia favored by 5.5, 4:30 on Fox. I'm going to go with Philadelphia 26-23. I don't want to see San Francisco in it because Seattle's the number 1 seed and we would likely have to play them. So I am going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. Fly, Eagles, fly. Number 7, Chargers at the number 2, Patriots. New England favored by 3.5. Sunday Night Football, 8:20 on NBC. I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one, 28-24. I think the Patriots are the better team in that matchup. Do I think they'll have potential going forward in the future ones? Well, it depends on who they play and how they can get the wins done. But in this one, I am going to go with the Patriots.
Okay.
Houston favored by 3 as the Texans are the 5 seed to take on the 4 Steelers. Monday Night Football, 8:15 on ABC and ESPN. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans, 26-22. Houston's been looking really good all season, and I think after this loss, Mike Tomlin says goodbye to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he gets fired. I think he joins the carousel. That's my hot take. So I'm going with the Rams, Bears, Bills, Eagles, Patriots, and Texans. Jim, I'm curious.
Well, listen, I like I said, I was giving you an opportunity to make up some ground. However, all of our picks are exactly the same except for the Houston-Pittsburgh game. I think I know maybe this is a little surprising because a lot of people think, I've been questioning the Bears all season long, and I've been a believer for the Buffalo Bills all season long. But yeah, they got their hands full with Jacksonville, and but I'm sticking with my picks here. And I think one of the more interesting games that's hard for me, I was on the fence with San Francisco and Philadelphia, but like
That
you,
one's good.
Eli, I'm taking Philadelphia as well. They are home. I'm not 100% sold on Brock Purdy, although he's been playing great, but I think their defense, and at some point, Philadelphia has to wake up. We've been waiting for Saquon Barkley to have a breakout game, and this may be it. So we're fully aligned except for the Houston game. And,
wow.
And
I said, the
Go
two
ahead.
toughest games to pick were definitely the Sunday afternoon slate between the Bills and the Jaguars, 49ers, Eagles. I think these are the toughest 2 games of the week, if you ask me. Maybe if you could disagree with me.
Also is, and one of our sponsor I know who's, Lynch Toyota, they're big New England fans, and I have been picking the Chargers, week after week, and they completely disappointed me. And I know a lot of people haven't given New England credit because they played a quote unquote weak schedule, but you can't deny that Drake May is an up and coming thing, and Vrabel turned this program around, in one season. And I'm tired of taking a bath on the Chargers and Herbert. So I am going with New England in that. So we differ in one game, and it pains me to have to pick an Aaron Rodgers led team, but I
don't know why you did, but I could see why, but I don't know why.
Well, because I'm trying to make sure I at least pick up one more game on you. Maybe that's my thought.
No. Don't you? I've already lost the season pretty much, unless you disagree on the divisional and the conference games, which I highly doubt. It's pretty much over once again for me.
Yeah, I know. And the thing with Buffalo, though,
let's talk about.
Like I said, they're lacking in wide receiver, but Cook is a player. Allen, of course, is a game maker, and I think they have enough from a tight end perspective with Knox. They could pull this all together and move on. If they don't, like I said, everybody keeps saying, and they're right. We know Mahomes this year, so that was always the stumbling block, but that's out.
Absolutely.
But they're going to be on the road for these games. There's a big difference between playing in Buffalo, where they hardly ever lose. But I think they're going to come up big this week against Jacksonville. So
all right.
We're almost aligned, Eli, except for one game, my friend.
Enjoy the weekend of NFL football because it is exciting games, let me tell you.
Great. And thank everybody for the comments and so forth. And enjoy
remember,
this
you
weekend.
Always call in anytime. Call in or comment anytime. We love it. Should we go to some random points?
Yep.
All right, we'll go to random points. Sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. Shall I kick it off?
Please.
Okay. All right, we begin with this. NASA announced that they will be sending the current SpaceX Crew of 4 home early from the International Space Station after a crew member suffered a medical emergency. That crew member has not been identified but is in stable condition. They were set to depart in February, but they will now be leaving on Wednesday, no earlier than 5 p.m. This announcement came Thursday after their planned spacewalk was canceled. And Jim, we were talking about this. This is a rare sight to see, and we're hoping for the best for whoever
Yeah.
astronaut that is suffering that issue.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
The Hawks are trading Trae Young to the Wizards for C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. That was a big trade that went down this week in the NBA.
Yeah, that's
Next-
Trey Young. Trey Young
Yeah,
has turned into a I don't know. I mean, he's very talented, but he's a complainer. He's not a team
Yeah.
guy. And good riddance. Go to Washington. You're not going to win anything there, anyways. Have
Yeah.
fun.
Next year's NHL Winter Classic will be in Utah with the Avalanche and the Mammoth at the University of Utah Football Stadium. That's pretty exciting.
That's going to be a nice, beautiful venue with the mountains in the
100%.
background and stuff. Yeah, it's going
That'll
to
be
be
really nice. Al Michaels will return next year to call games for Amazon in 2026. NBC
At what
announced.
point?
Go ahead. He's 80.
At what point do you say enough is enough, Al? Come on,
Nah, and then there's never you never do that. No, you gotta just keep on going. NBC announced that 20 games will air on NBC for the MLB, including the opening day matchup, which will be on March 26th. The Pirates at the Mets on 1 o'clock. That's on NBC, and the Diamondbacks at the Dodgers at 8 o'clock on NBC for opening day. So enjoy Mets on NBC. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Lastly, but certainly not least, Bruno Mars releases his first solo song in over 10 years with the song I Just Might. And personally, I think it's Grammy worthy already. I like the song. I'm a big fan of Bruno. And he still holds to this day one of the best Super Bowl halftime shows, including Prince and MJ. He's right behind him, Prince and MJ. They're up there. Don't get me wrong. They're up there, Prince and MJ. Never dismiss them. But really good song, I Just Might. And he's dropping a new album, The Romantic, on February 27th. So stay tuned to that. And he goes back on tour starting in April. So good for Bruno. Check out his new song, I Just Might, because, it's a good song.
Good.
All right, Jim. See you.
Okay. I got some random points here. And one thing, I don't know a lot of the details, but this whole lawsuit with Michael Jordan and NASCAR has caused, Steve Phelps resigns as the commissioner of NASCAR. So, I mean, we know that this is big business, and you know that something has to be involved deeper if Michael Jordan is involved and the commissioner gets basically run out of town. I wish I knew more about the details, but NASCAR is a moneymaker, and they don't have any plans to bring in a new commissioner. So whatever this lawsuit was, it had some relevance to the effects of causing this guy to step down. Eli, we talk about the college football playoffs in Miami and Indiana, but I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that the FCS championship was
Yes.
Montana State beat Illinois State in a great overtime game. So that was, these are kids. When you look at those teams too, there's players on those teams that are going to make it to the NFL. It's kind of the poor man's FBS, if you will, but still very, very competitive football. Congratulations to Montana State. This was kind of a disturbing news. Jordan Shipley, former Texas Longhorn, actually the second leading receiver in Texas Longhorn history, which was surprised, was involved in an accident on his farm and suffered severe burns and so forth. So we wish him all the best. He was always a quality kid and played some time in the NFL, but his career certainly at Texas, big time notable. Here was an interesting fact I saw. Bobby Wagner just had his 2,000th tackle, and I did a little bit of research, and then I noticed that there's only two other players in NFL history with 2,000 career tackles, and that one shouldn't be a surprise. Maybe Ray Lewis, but the other was London Fletcher, who played a long time in the NFL. But I don't think anybody would have gotten that trivia. And I
No.
wondered, I go, Dick Butkus? What about Dick Butkus? What about Lawrence Taylor and these guys? But I guess it's the longer you play, the more opportunities you have. But that was an interesting fact. Don Mattingly leaves the Blue Jays, and now he's the bench coach. I was a little surprised. I thought Don Mattingly would get a manager job. He's got managerial experience and so forth. It would have been a great move for the Yankees to bring him in as the bench coach and maybe the heir apparent. But congratulations to him. He's a baseball guy, and
Absolutely.
we talk about Hall of Fame and so forth, and he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's got quite a resume in coaching. So that's a big addition for the Phillies. And Eli, Kevin Durant just passed Wilt Chamberlain on 7th on the all-time NBA scoring list. And just to put that into perspective, think about how many points, that is. And LeBron no one will ever catch him, right? Probably over, 40,000 points or whatever.
Yep.
Anthony Edwards, who's like an up-and-coming star, he just passed 10,000. And I go, how long could he have to play before he could ever catch Wilt Chamberlain, Kevin Durant? It's amazing. So congratulations, Durant. He's been on 100 different teams, but he scores points.
That's how I was
wherever
laughing
he
because
goes.
he's been on 100 different teams. It's funny when you hear his name.
Yep. That's it for my random points, Eli.
Well, with that, it's time for the entertainment and what's your recommendation in the photo segment, sponsored by Vital Sections. Scan the QR code to learn more. Before we get to that, Eric says, good morning. Happy Saturday to all. Happy Saturday. Good morning to you, Eric.
Yes, sir, Eric. Thank you.
So what's your recommendation?
Well, listen, I think I may have done it, but like when we're talking about Indiana, how could my recommendation not be to watch Hoosiers, right?
Ha!
Which
Well-
is a great movie. It's a great movie on its own, but I think this is Indiana's week, so let's go with Hoosiers for me.
Wow. This Thursday marks the 16th anniversary. It's crazy to think about, of the Miracle on the Hudson, when the plane 1549 crashed into the river and all 154 passengers and crew survived. It is one of the greatest miracles. Pretty much 155 passengers survived. One of the greatest miracles of all time. It was unbelievable. So you know what I got to recommend? The movie Sully. You have to watch the movie Sully. Tom Hanks is amazing in that movie. I love watching that movie. It's up there for one of my favorites. And also I'm on the radio this week on Monday, 10 to 1, 89.5 WSOU and the iHeartRadio app. So tune in then.
Oh, good recommendation on Sully. Wow, that's 16 years ago already.
16 years. Unbelievable. But let me tell you, one of the greatest miracles of all time in our area.
It's almost inexplicable. It's such a miracle.
You can't repeat it anywhere else. It's unbelievable. And the movie's great. I love watching that movie. I don't know if you ever watched it, Jim, but
I've seen it.
It's a great movie.
Seen it.
Yeah.
But the irony of it all, like it happened right in the harbor of New York City. I mean,
and the problem is, not the problem is, it was 2009 when it happened. So it just came out where it was about 8 years after 9/11. So they just thought, another 9/11 was about to happen to people in New York. But it turned out just a bird strike and a miracle that everybody survived. It really is an amazing story. And the prosecution by the NTSB and everybody, that's what the story is just like. That's what's so interesting. The questioning, the hard, everything. It was amazing, the story.
Yeah.
Really is such a great movie.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is great.
Yes.
Tom Hanks is great at anything, by the way. Just all right, let's go to some photos.
Yeah, he can't deny it. Look at this picture I took, and because I talked about the Ali Frazier trilogy, if you will. So I was in Madison Square Garden, and this is a picture from the first Frazier Ali one. Just a great picture, Madison Square Garden. I mean, it was like I told you, if you get an opportunity to watch it. And there I am at the game last week, and that's me with John Franco, who St. John's alumni, but also Mr. Franco owns the National League record for most games pitched, over 1,100, and he's the all-time saves leader in Major League Baseball history for left-handed pitchers. So He was gracious enough. I did notice him, nice guy, and but I'm not sure why he's not in the Hall of Fame, but that could be debatable.
Yeah.
I'll throw that out to Brendan or something one day. But
just
nice
wanna
guy.
say, it's always great to be in Madison Square Garden, except when I see the letter R and the team that follows after the letter R. I can't stand that team, but I think overall it's a great place. And Madison Square Garden is a very nice venue, let me tell you, except when the R team is home.
Yeah, and it was actually a really big win for Providence. Actually, it was also so. There's the head coach of Providence, Kim English, who we were guests of his for the game, and there he is, Mr. Patino as well. So pretty
Yeah,
good seats, Eli, right?
That's pretty good seats. There you go. Big shout out. And by the way, every time Jim goes to a game, it's on our Instagram and his Facebook page, the Mono at the Game special, as we call it. Jim does his pregame and postgame reports for every game he goes to. So if you're not a follower on Instagram or on Jim's Facebook, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook because you'll get more. You'll get some content there too, in addition to everything here on YouTube. Be sure to also subscribe on YouTube as well.
Yep. All right, it's had a wonderful time. Wonderful time.
Williams says Seton men's is at Georgetown today. St. John's versus Crane on the road. And Seton Hall women won a big game on the road versus Providence this past week. And yes, Seton Hall is doing great. Love to see all the great stuff down at Seton Hall. And thank you, by the way, Bill, for all that. They have a big game
and listen,
Tuesday.
And I'm glad that he brought that up because you and I, Eli, were talking about Big East play is starting to ramp up, and this is going to be a big test because we've been promoting Seton Hall, rightfully so. They've had some big wins early in the season, and let's see if they're for real. This is a good test. I think they could handle Georgetown today, but let's see what they can do against UConn next Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah,
absolutely. We do have some notable passings to report. I'm going to start because I only have two of them. America's Test Kitchen chef El Simone Scott has passed away at the age of 49. And NHL legend Glenn Hall has passed away at the age of 94. He was born in 1931, Mr. Goalie.
And that was his nickname. He has the all-time record. He had 522 consecutive starts in goal. And he did win a Stanley Cup in 1961 with the Chicago Blackhawks. But, I mean, think about this. 522 games without a mask. I mean, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I would never be able to do that without a mask. Think about that. Oof.
He was 94 years old, but when somebody refers to you as Mr. Goalie, that means you were as good as it ever gotten in between the pipes. Yep.
Derek says go Hoosiers in the comments.
I know, Derek. I'm a believer, my friend. I am now. So, all right, Eli, I got a couple. Bob Pulford, sticking with hockey. I remember him. He was a longtime player. Won 4 cups with the Toronto Maple Leafs when the Maple Leafs won Stanley Cups about 100 years ago. But I remember him also as the GM and the coach of the Chicago Blackhawks for many, many years. He was 89 years old. Billy Truax was a wide receiver for the Rams and also for the Dallas Cowboys. Actually won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys in Super Bowl VI. He was 82 years old. And I always refer, Eli, when I talk about the old-time players, remember I always mention that Sunoco stamp book and the
of course
NFL players. He was one of them in that picture. So also Randy McMillan, very underrated running back for the Colts for several years. He was 67, but he was also a teammate of Dan Marino at the University of Pittsburgh. So 67, but he had a pretty decent career in the NFL. And also one last one that I wanted to mention because he was the son of former President Ronald Reagan, but Michael Reagan was 80 years old, and he was a kind of a conservative color guy and whatnot, but also always been a gentleman and so forth. So he was certainly notable to me because I used to listen to some of his political views and so forth. But he was 80 years old. But wow, yeah. So it was a A lot of big losses this week in both hockey and
We did a lot of
yeah.
losses. And let me just say one thing first off. Thank you to every single one of you for watching. We had a big number of live audience members today watching. Thank you to all the callers, Bobby and Brendan, and to everybody who commented. We really appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the videos. And you could also follow us on Instagram or on Facebook. We really appreciate that as well. We'll also be live next Saturday, the 17th at 8 a.m. for a Sports with Mano Mano 8 a.m. special. So be sure to tune in then.
Yep.
Until then, I hope you guys have a very great week. Enjoy the games of football. Jim?
Yeah, it's been an exciting week of football, and unfortunately for us, we're not going to be, the game, the national championship game isn't until not this Monday, but the following Monday. So we'll do a little preview, see what happens prior to the game. And like I said, Tom Pugh and Derek Krug, these guys are Indiana. They're bleeding red right now, and rightfully so. So we'll be talking more and more about that. And thank you to everybody again for all of the support and calling in, and Bobby Garanti. That was very, very nice to give a mention to my little brother today.
Thanks
You
again,
so much.
guys.
All right, Eli, you have yourself a good week, and we'll catch up. See you Saturday morning next